Good evening, everybody, and welcome into 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast for diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion of the 52 universe from our parent podcast, 52/1995 movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined, as always, by my fantastic co host, Cody. Cody, how's it going this afternoon?
It's great. It's evening now
It's
for
evening, yes.
some. For
For
some,
some, wherever
not
you're
for
tuning
everyone.
in, wherever you're tuning in, whatever time zone it is, we appreciate you being here. We love to have you. If you are, speaking of being here, if you're here for the first time, again, happy to have you each week. If you didn't know, because we got 52 weeks in a year, we explore 52 different albums from the year 1995, 30th anniversary. This year, we're going to dive into the important releases, discuss them in detail, and Cody and I are going to chit chat about our thoughts and experiences with the music. Now, every month we have a different genre or theme that we are going to be exploring, and January is Ladies Month. This is the last week of our Ladies Month theme, and today's album is Relish by Joan Osborne. So, Cody, just want to pick your brain, get your thoughts. How do you have you experienced this before, or this album before? Have you heard of Joan Osborne before? What is your experience with this album?
Yeah, so Joan Osborne to me, again, I bring it up every week, and I will continue to. All of my music knowledge comes from my oldest sister, and she definitely had this. I don't know if she had the CD or not. I know she had. I'm pretty sure she had the cassette version of this. But Joan Osborne to me has always been a one-hit wonder, and most people who didn't even know it was Joan Osborne probably recognized the song "One of Us." What if God was one of us? And have probably heard that before. I know it was a theme song for Joan of Arcadia for however many seasons that ran in the early 2000s. So people might have gotten it from that. But I feel like that's all I knew about Joan Osborne. I knew she had the curly hair. She had the nose ring. She had a like one of those big ass stud nose rings, like almost like the sunflower kind of looking thing on there. Um, that's really all I knew about her. I remember watching this music video channel that we had. It's not MTV because I didn't have cable until I was in high school or any kind of cable, but we were able to get this like I think it ended up becoming a UPN station eventually, but in like 1995, we had to tune the rabbit ears just right, and it would play this music video channel or program that I would watch along with my sister. All this. So again, that's just one of the only ways that I ever had any access to this music 30 years ago. So
I like it. I like the unnamed random not MTV music video channel.
yeah, I don't know what it was. It was so weird. I don't know if it was like Canadian. I don't know what it was, but we got it on some weird channel. That's all I know
Yeah,
about it.
hey, that works. I say just like typical, I have less experience with this music. With a lack of older siblings to guide me. I do know, like you said, um, what we would maybe assume is one hit wonder. But after doing some research, turns out she wasn't one hit. She had quite a few hits, but the lasting legacy hit, One of Us, it is I knew that song. A lot of people did, a lot, especially kids who grew up in the Christian faith in the 90s and 2000s, definitely knew that song. Um, so that one I knew, but that is the extent of my Joan Osborne knowledge. Any of her albums or music, anything like that. It was just that one song. And it wasn't until we dove into this week that I learned that she's not a Christian artist. she, like, that is not her gig. She just had one very specific song, and has quite a repertoire of music that I didn't know. So that's kind of my background with it.
Not too bad, not too shabby.
Not too
Um,
shabby.
yeah, I do think that she was probably often confused as a Christian artist for a while based on that one song.
Yeah, it's like when people thought Kanye was as a Christian artist with After Jesus Walks. Like, I don't know if anyone like truly was like he's a Christian artist at that point. Now he has a whole album, and thing going on. But people, people put out one song, they really hold on to it, whether it's in the genre. I was talking to somebody today about Mr. Kirk Franklin. That was a fun conversation today at work.
Didn't he have some songs with Didn't he have some songs with Kanye?
Probably. I mean, Kirk Franklin is a
Yeah.
like the guy for Christian music, so he might be featured on Kanye's new Christian album, but um, and we will, as I see some comments about the song in the chat, we are going to dive into those lyrics here in just a moment because they are interesting. So with that being said, let's just get into it. Let's do a little bit of background. So the album of the day is Relish by Joan Osborne. The album is 12 songs long, which seems kind of short, but this is, I believe, our longest album yet at 1 hour and 1 minute, or at least one of our longer ones. Last two albums were a little shorter. So 1 hour, 1 minute of 12 songs. A little bit about Joan Osborne, a little bit about her background. She is from a suburb of Louisville, Kentucky, so kind of close-ish to us. I did think she was Canadian until I found out that is not correct. She did go to school to NYU to study film, specifically went to NYU to study film. But while she was there, she's kind of like working her way through college, paying her way through college. She was actually taking a semester off to earn some money. When she really got immersed into the music scene in New York City. She was just happened to be at an open mic night, started singing for funsies, and other musicians who were there were like, "You're really good. You really need to come back." So she began singing weekly at this open mic night and got really inspired by other blues artists, some folk. But mostly blues, even a little bit of Motown was a bit of her inspiration. So she really got immersed in New York City's music scene, leading her to create her own record label at one point. So in 1991, she formed her own record label with a fantastic name called Womanly Hips. And love that record label name. But she with under her own personal label released her first full album called Soul Show live at Delta 88. This record, Relish, that it's called her debut album, but really it's her first debut album with a major label. Really, she had a little bit of a music career prior to putting this out. So that's a little bit of background. Did you see any of that when you were, kind of looking up the album, doing any research, anything kind of stick out to you?
I just wanted to point out that she was, again, out of the 4 women that we've done this month, we had 2 that were super, super young with Alanis Morissette and Jewel. And then we had some that were a little bit more seasoned in the music industry. And they were, I think, Joan Osborne might actually have been older than Natalie Merchant when this album came out too. I think she was 32 or 33-ish. So all around everybody's kind of around the same age. Like we had in their 2 groupings, but you can tell so much by their age and the maturity in their lyrics, and even some of their like vocals and stuff like that. You can tell so much how 10 years is a big difference from perspective and the way that they put their lyrics like together. And it's that was one thing that I just wanted to point out.
You're right. After she is. I looked it up specifically because after listening to this album, I'm like, there is no, because like you hear debut and you think young. And when we said with Natalie Merchant, like she had been with a band for 12 years prior to her putting out a solo album. It was her debut, but not her debut, but I'm like, oh, debut. Oh no, she's 32 when this came out, and because I was like, there's no way that she is 22 or 20. Like there's age to this person in a positive way. And you can even I love her vocals. I will say, like, I really dig her sound. And we'll get into some of that too. But yeah, you can certainly tell with the lyrics and the themes and what we're singing about here. We have our, like we said, I think this whole podcast is going to be comparison. At least within the months that we are discussing. So within Ladies Month, we're going to be, comparing the ladies. With next month, we're going to be comparing those artists, maybe even drawing back to this month even. But it's just because it's hard not to,
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to point out about Joan Osborne is that she doesn't sound necessarily the same on any, like, some
Yeah.
of her songs, like, um sometimes she has that really kind of soulful, like there's more of a blues element to it. There's more of a rock element to it in some songs. There's more of the pop, pop singer element to it in some songs. And so I found that unique, especially out of the four women that we've listened to so far. And I enjoyed it. And I
Mhm.
think she did really well with each kind of her different vocal stylings. I thought it was an interesting way to introduce yourself, I guess.
Yes, and it's interesting that you bring that up because like I want to talk about, how did this album do? Because it touches on that when it comes to some Grammy nods. So, in terms of did this album chart, it very much did chart. It went 3 times platinum and sold over 3 million units in the United States, which is pretty impressive. It did hit number 29 on the U.S. Billboard 200 for the year 1996. In terms of weekly sales, it only peaked at 9, so we never got a number one out of this record, but it did very well. And in terms of like, what she got nominated for, she was very heavily decorated at the Grammys the following year. Specifically, kind of what you were touching on, One of Us was nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and Saint Teresa, another record on the album, was nominated for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance. So she was nominated for the same album, 2 songs from the same album in 2 different categories, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, so whenever I came to my pairings, I was like, at first when I started listening, I was like, oh, I've got a perfect pairing for this person. And then as I listened to the rest of the album, I was like, oh, wait, she doesn't sound anything like that person anymore. So I kind of had trouble. I think I found a couple artists that I could pair with her, but um, yeah, it was fun to get to each new song and then find something new or different, or definitely skewing a little bit farther away from, like, One of Us almost seems on a different album.
Yeah.
Like it should be on a different album or somebody else is singing it, but
Hmm.
obviously it's her, and iconic for her too.
Yes, and interestingly, that she didn't write all of the songs on the album, but she had her hand in writing majority of them. One of Us is one of the few that was not written that she didn't have a hand in.
Mhm.
It was written by a completely different dude. His name is Eric Bazillion, which is great last name. And he was the sole writer of One of Us. And I think he, in meeting her, like was like, you should sing the song, or he was writing it for her album, like for
Mhm.
her voice. Um, but yeah, she did have a hand in majority of the writing on the album. The one song that goes off and becomes her song is not her song. So it's kind of, you're right. It does feel like it doesn't really belong.
Yeah. And I think that some of the other songs that she did write, or have like a bigger hand in, you can tell which
Yep.
ones are hers, and some of those are my favorite songs. Like,
Hmm.
I have One of Us marked because it's her, her hit
You
on
got to
this one.
talk
But
about it.
honestly, I think I found enjoyment out of 3 or 4 of the other ones more than One of Us. It's kind of
I,
like how you were with Wonder last week with Natalie Merchant. Like, obviously
yeah.
it was a hit, but it didn't really stick with you.
Hmm.
One of Us is a hit, and I like it, and I know it, but after like diving deep into this album, I was like, oh man, she's a completely different artist than I thought.
Yeah. Someone in chat said, I wondered if the studio pushed One of Us on her. And I think it was a collab. I really do think that she was, it's not that she was forced into singing it. I really do think it was designed with her in mind. And she has a good working relationship with Eric Bazillion. He co-wrote a couple other of the songs with her on the album. So they were very much like in collaboration with the writing process. Um, but like, yeah, it's a good question. Like, how did we get to this point? Like, was it just because they had a cool working relationship and he was like, hey, you want to sing this song I wrote? I think it's really dope. And she was like, yeah, cool, sounds great. uh I don't know enough background on that, but he's pops up a couple times.
Apparently, he was part of a group called the Hooters.
Yeah. I have so many questions. I got to look up the Hooters because solely because every time they are like you look up the Hooters, the it's always the Hooters. It's not just Hooters, it's the Hooters, but the is not capitalized. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what is the name of this band?
It says they combine elements of rock, reggae, ska, and folk music.
I'm
So
in. I'm in.
that sounds incredible.
He seems like a cool dude. He was interviewed about, One of Us, because of course it's a huge hit. Actually, he got nominated for Song of the Year with One of Us at the 96 Grammys. She didn't because he was the writer. He got credited with Song of the Year. But he was interviewed about it and he's, what was your inspiration for the song? And he's literally just like, I wrote this song to impress a girl and it kind of worked because now we're married with two kids. So I thought that was kind of fun. I was like, it always comes back to women. Any art, any good art is really influenced by just trying to impress a lady.
Well, good for him. I'm glad that I wonder if they're still together. I hope they're still together.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, but yeah, so I've kind of been touching on some of the nominations. Again, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, St. Teresa for Best Female Rock Vocal Performance. Best New Artist was one, but I think the biggest is Album of the Year. I had no clue that, I mean, obviously, this is Ladies Month, and I just kind of, I saw what music we had in 95, and I kind of categorized it based on the weeks and how we could rock with this. And I knew Alanis Morissette was Album of the Year. It's a great album. We're going to talk about Mariah Carey in a couple of months. I knew about that album being nominated. A lot of people thinking it was snubbed. No idea that Relish was nominated for Album of the Year. And after listening to it, I get it. It's very good. I'm kind of interested to listen, with all the other, 48 albums that we're going to listen to this year. If this one really kind of should have been, or but I thought it was very of the four we've listened to thus far. I found it to be very good. I just had no idea it was nominated.
Yeah, and it's funny, we've talked about the Grammys before too, and the Grammys have like a weird nominating
Yeah.
schedule. So we're not only getting the 95 nominations, we're going to get the 96 nominations as well.
Hmm.
So we'll have even more to talk about. Not
Yeah.
all of them are from the 96 nominations, but yeah.
Right. Or even, another song, Spiderweb, was on this album was nominated in 97 because it wasn't like it really wasn't hitting popular, it wasn't hitting the charts until 96. So it was just delayed. Even the same album, it was still not, it's funny to have album be nominated for Album of the Year, lose, and then have a song get nominated from the same album the following year.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I don't either.
It's kind of one of the reasons why the Grammys are one of my least favorite. The Emmys are up there too with being like one of my least, because I just don't understand the time frame
Yeah.
of them and how things like a new person is considered a new artist and they've been around for 10 years.
Yeah, I think that, well, this past year,
It's
or
like
is it
Sabrina
this
Carpenter is a great
Sabrina
example.
Carpenter?
Yeah.
Sabrina Carpenter is on her seventh album,
Mhm.
and best new artist. I'm like, girlfriend's been around since Girl Meets World.
She's been around a long time. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Chappell
crazy.
Roan's been around, has several albums. I mean, Chappell Roan just kind of popped off this past year, but her album, she's been around for quite a few years as
Well,
well.
Noah Kahan as well has had at least a couple albums before he got
Yeah,
nominated. So I don't
it's
know.
very interesting.
Yeah, very unique that the way they do their Grammys and stuff. So
Yeah, I have a lot of qualms with the Grammys. I complain. Are they this coming Sunday? Yes. Am I gonna watch them? Yes. Am I gonna complain the entire time? Also, yes. So we'll maybe talk about that next week.
yeah, that'll be all right. That'd be a good like we can talk about the Grammys and then talk about the next album.
Yes. I'm excited about our next slew of albums. But I'm already like complaining about the Grammys, and it's fine. It's fine. Been complaining since the nominations come out, but that's okay. Yeah, that's all I got for that. And so in terms of background, I didn't get a lot on inspiration, because a lot of there's not like, this isn't a like cohesive album, I wouldn't say. There's a lot of like random to it. So each song kind of has its own inspiration, but there's not like, oh, I wrote this album because X, in
Hmm.
the way that Alanis and Jewel kind of did. So I just kind of skimmed over that portion of our prompts, but so of the songs, there are, like I said, 12 songs on this album. I want to know which ones kind of stuck out to you. Which ones do you want to chat about?
Yeah, so I really liked a lot of the songs on this album. I wrote down um I like Saint Teresa is the number one song on here. Man in the Long Black Coat, Right Hand Man, Pensacola, and I think I liked Lumina too, the last song on the
Okay.
album.
All
Uh,
right.
yeah, and obviously I had One of Us written down as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't talk about this album without talking about one of us.
Hmm.
I had Saint Teresa, I had Right Hand Man, I also had Dracula Moon,
Okay.
and I had Spider Web. Those were two that kind of stuck out to me. I also had Ladder, but I only just had one note on it, nothing big. But I like that we kind of picked different ones.
Yeah, Spiderweb was unique. It was
It was
I
weird.
wanted to like it more than I did.
Yeah.
I think it sounded really good, but I was like, why are we talking about Ray Charles so goddamn much? Like,
That's let's get into it. Let's just we'll go out of order. Let's kick it off with Spiderweb just to get it out of the way
yeah.
because my note is what the fuck is going on. I liked it. The sound is good, but and this was my complaint with Jewel was that I feel like Jewel was trying to say something and she didn't say much with her when she was trying to say something. I feel like that's what this song was trying to do. I'm not saying that's for the entire album in the way that the Jewel album is, but I'm like you said, why are we talking about Ray Charles? What like is this a parable? It felt like a parable where it's like, be careful what you wish for, or when you gain something, you'll lose something else. And I was like, but why are we talking about Ray Charles?
Yeah, I didn't really I don't think I understood the song, and
Yeah.
obviously it was a dream of that's what she starts out talking about. Like, I dreamed about Ray Charles last night. He could see just fine, you know. Um
And in
and
the
he
end, she says, I liked him better before.
well
Like,
in here it says like he stopped singing. He's not singing anymore, and he just stays in bed with his MTV stuff like that. So I yeah. So what is the spider web?
I don't know. I was trying to, um, there's a Fall Out Boy song. This is really, and I'm trying to think of the lyrics. Um, but I'm pretty sure it's This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race is the
Mhm.
song. And they sing about like, I'm I, as a, I'm a weaving man and the lies I weave are oh so intricate. Like, or I'm a leading man and the lies I weave. And like the imagery from this song reminded me of that This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race.
Mhm.
Where it's like everyone's connected and like it's like a spider web's very delicate and we're like weaving these stories or these lies or these things or it's all like, but when we think about like a empty head with a spider web, it's more so a cobweb. That's like the visual I was getting. So I'm like, did he
Mhm.
lose he gained his sight, but he lost his singing ability and he has no
Okay.
brain. And it was very interesting. I'm not saying I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
I just thought it was, and then again, it gets nominated in '96 or '97, I guess, because it was popular in '96 um, for a Grammy for rock performance of the year,
And
female
and
rock.
and maybe I'm putting too much thought into this song that comes off as just like a really good blues song,
Hmm.
recognizing, somebody that is part of the genre, whether it's soul or blues or whatever, with Ray Charles. And
Hmm.
maybe it's talking about, going back to a time when things were better. Maybe that's all it's talking about. I don't know.
Hmm. Maybe. Yeah, that's kind of, I just wanted to touch on that because I thought it was such an interesting song and the fact that again it's Grammy nominated and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But we can go back to the beginning with Saint Teresa. I think it's an excellent opening for an album. You get the high taps and you're like really drawn in. You're like, and I'm like, let's go. Like, what's going to happen? And I am immediately drawn in by her voice, by the melody, by again the high tap drums. Like, I think this is an excellent opening to an album.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot too. I think it is more rocky.
Hmm.
And so this is what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that like we started off, I was not prepared for this. We start off the album with this very like I guess harder rock song from Joan Osborne and not the One of Us kind of thing that I was expecting. And so this whole time I'm like, man, she's like Janice, or she sounds very much of a different time here with this song, and like
Hmm.
what the song's about too. It was a little bit, not harder, grittier, I would say, than some of the other songs on the album. But I enjoyed it. I think it's a great opener to this song, to this album. Did I lose you? Are you still here? Oh, I lost her. It's just me, baby. Just me. Oh, she's back.
I'm so sorry. So I put my phone on do not disturb, and that did not matter. I got a call that came through.
Oh, nice.
My bad. My boss is calling. We are after work hours. Anyway, I'm so sorry. I missed what you said about. I mean, you said I got you're feeling like it's Janice, and get this rock song coming off in the very beginning of the album, and then it cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's just a grittier thing than I was expecting. I
Yeah.
think the story behind the song is really interesting too, and
Hmm.
what all it's kind of based around. I think this is one that she had written with that guy again, Eric Bazillion, a couple other ones.
Hmm.
Like she worked together on this song, so
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good start to this album.
Yes. So if you didn't listen, you weren't able to listen this week. Um, so I know maybe you explained it already. I apologize if I'm repeating, but Saint Teresa is written about or when Joan Osborne was asked about, but who's this song about? What's this song about? She was living in a Manhattan neighborhood, and there was a woman who would every day would stand on the street corner with a stroller with her baby in it and would sell drugs. And that was, and she was just like, I just became fascinated with her. I would watch her. I was just like, just impressed with her ability to, do what she needed to do to feed her family and make money and do what needed to be done. Some of the sometimes when people hear this song, they interpret, the woman who is selling drugs as a sex worker, or she's witnessing a drug deal being done. And it looks like there's a little bit of loss in translation when we really get into what the lyrics are about and like what we're looking at here. But apparently she wrote this under hypnosis. um,
What?
Yes, she was having like hella writer's block and decided to go under hypnosis, and that's where she got the lyrics for Saint Teresa. Which badass.
Yeah. I mean, I
Very
guess.
fun. I just think it was interesting. Like, and I mean, to go under hypnosis and come out with this song, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what
But
to
you're
think
like,
about the
no.
hypnosis. I'm just like, is this bullshit? I don't know.
Hmm. I know, no. I thought it was interesting. Maybe it is bullshit. But oh no, I thought it was kind of cool.
No, that is
Um,
makes it
I also
interesting.
there's also a couple other like elements to it. She did grow up Catholic, so we do see a couple of like Catholic influences throughout the album. But if anyone's curious, Saint Teresa is the patron saint of Spain, like the country. Sick people, people in religious orders, people being ridiculed for their piety, chess, and lace makers.
So she's the patron saint of chess.
Chess, but
All
chess.
right, we've got a couple chess players here.
I love chess. I'm horrific at it.
Don't even know how to play.
We'll teach you.
I think I'm too old to learn.
But that's anything else you want to add to that one? Again, that's if you haven't listened, I would recommend that one. Genuinely, it was a very like The sound is very good.
No, I think that's it for that one. It was I didn't have it starred on my list, but I do remember it pretty fondly.
Hmm. What about you had Right Hand Man?
I had Man in the Long Black Coat.
Man Long Back Coat. We can talk about that one
Yeah,
briefly. What do you? There's the reason I didn't pick this song is because it's a cover.
yeah. Well, I didn't know who it was a cover of, and then found out that it was a cover of a Bob Dylan song, and Bob Dylan that I'm not used to listening to
Hmm.
too. I think most of my like Bob Dylan listening goes up to like the late 70s of listening to Dylan. And so this is him late 89 or late 80s. I think it was in 1989 that he wrote this. So um, I was like, oh, this song's a banger. And and now it's just convinced me that I need to listen to some more Bob Dylan. Because I really, really did like this song. You can tell I think that it is a Bob Dylan song once you listen to it a little bit more. But yeah, no, I
Hmm.
just really liked it. I think it fits with her vocally as well. I
Hmm.
think that's why she put it on the album too, is that she loved Bob Dylan and she loved this album that this comes from. And I think it fit, like I said, it fits in with that like bluesy rock element that she kind of has to her voice.
Yeah. I mean, in I think it was 2017, she put out an entire Bob Dylan cover album. Like, she loves Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Which, and I totally agree. The song really plays to her vocals. I thought it was fine. I thought it was also surprising to, like we said, include a cover on your album. If you're gonna do that, typically when people do that, it's a bonus track. It's not the second song on the album.
Hmm.
So I thought that was an interesting choice. But yeah, I agree. It's good. It's a good song.
Yeah. So that's all I had to say about that one.
Okay. Um, so what do you have next?
Right Hand Man is my next song, and I
Okay.
this is one, if not my favorite song on the album.
It's very good. It is a headbanger. It again, the percussion, like I really love the percussion on these songs. It's also kind of in like a weird timing. Like it's not in like 4/4. I think it's three. It might be 3/4. I was trying to like count it on the way home from work today, and I was like, I could not do it. Um, but and her voice gets a little raspy in the chorus. This to me kind of also would, I feel like this would be a really good song on Alanis Morissette's album. Like I feel like you could have plucked it from there.
But it also
Or
seems like this. I'm not going to give too much because there's a lot of like repetition to the song. I mean,
Mhm.
she screams my right hand man," over and over again. I think there's only like two unique
Versus
verses to this out or to this. But this is very much like like I felt like a woman who is, I don't know, comfortable with where she's at, this guy that she's hooking up with, and
Mhm.
she's not mad that she's doing this what most would consider like a walk of shame. This is
Yeah.
where I think like being in your 30s is a little bit different, where she's like proud of what she just did. And I really like that that element of it. And she just seems like a badass, and like I want to hang out with her. And
Yeah.
I also learned what sensimilla is
What is
in
it?
the. It is basically weed with no seeds in it,
Oh,
or
okay.
so it's like stronger, I guess. It
All
means
right.
without seeds. It's a particularly potent strain of marijuana. So
Okay. So she's
yeah,
having a real good day.
yeah, she's having a great day. But also it was like, okay, my right hand man, what is she? Is she talking about this guy, or is she talking about her right hand?
I I was gonna ask you that. I was like, what is the song about, do you think? My interpretation is that it's both. Is that she meets this guy, she hooks up with this guy, they're having a bunch of fun, she's really into him. They hook up, she does her walk of no shame, goes home, and
And then,
continues
yeah,
and
it's like,
continues.
oh my God, I had such a great time. I'm still thinking about it. Let's get
Yes,
going.
yes, that is my interpretation of the song. Again, and she's pretty coy with her lyrics. She's like, I don't like to like, get into lyrics or interpret lyrics. I'm like, girl, that is all we are doing is trying to interpret your insane lyrics. But that was my kind of thought behind it. But it's just, again, it's a stomping. It's like I feel like I can stomp with the song. The percussion's good, the headbang, like she's screaming, it's raspy, like it is very good.
Yeah, and for a masturbation song, it goes hard, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I guess
There's not a lot of them.
if you're super into it, just, I mean, this is
Yeah.
no I touch myself, but man, this is good. Like, you might hurt yourself if you're listening to this song.
No, was it from Pitch Perfect? That song really builds.
But yeah, so
it.
okay, I was just wanting to make sure
I
that
have no idea.
that is what you interpreted this song as. I think when you had asked me earlier, you're like, "Oh, you said I need to listen to a song." It was this song because I was like,
Okay.
"I need to know what you think this is about," because
Yes.
it starts off one way and then like I agree with you. I think that's exactly what the song's about.
Hmm.
She gets
And
laid, she's very happy about it. It was awesome. She goes back, she needs to keep going, you know?
as I also like in the lyrics, like the progression, it's I'm on the floor looking for a chair. I'm on the chair looking for a couch. I'm on the couch looking for a bed. And it's a visual of a buildup of
Mhm.
going from low to high, going from small to big. Like it's a visualization of that song really builds. That's a kind of my interpretation of it. And I was like, that's pretty unique. I kind of dig that.
I also like at the end of the if he can't fix it, gonna find a boy who can. Like,
Hmm.
because if we're still talking about her actual right hand, then yeah, I like that. I just think it's a banger.
Hmm. Yeah. Pun intended.
Pun intended. Bang her. She
Hey.
did. She did indeed. This is not a PG broadcast.
We're dealing with the sensitive adult topics. This is music. This is art.
When I think about you, I touch myself. That's the equivalent. This is the '90s equivalent.
I was thinking of I called her on the phone and
That's the 2000s
that's
equivalent.
the 2000s equivalent.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my next one.
Love it. Okay. Um, you had Pensacola?
Yes, I love this song.
I had nothing written down about it. That's so
I
funny.
love this song. If it's not Right Hand Man on this album, it's Pensacola.
Okay. What about it?
Um,
Because I genuinely don't remember it. Like I don't have any like negative feelings towards it. I just
well, that's how I feel about the whole album. I don't really have a negative feeling about anything on this album.
Mhm.
Um, I just liked the story that this song told. I also think this is one of the times where she does have like a slightly different vocal styling. She almost yodels at the beginning with her,
Mhm.
hey, yeah, yeah, that whole part when she's starting into it. But I mean, like the song being about her, like finding her father and
Mm.
then him not being like him being different than what she had, the picture that she had, um him living in like a trailer and not, being poor and
Mhm.
having religion and all this other stuff is thrown in here, and you get this whole story. And like her mom saying, hey, you're wasting your time here, there's nothing there, he's not a good person, he's not anything
Yeah.
great, you're wasting your time trying to find this guy. And I don't know, I really liked it. I just liked this song. I thought it was good,
Yeah.
with the lyrics, and some of my favorite lyrics come from this song too. So
I do remember liking whenever they repeated a line, I liked how the notes went. It's like back to 1963,
mhm.
back to I liked how that riff went. Like again, a lot of these songs just musically, sonically, like even if the lyrics don't really hit for me, again, I'm a lyrics person. If they don't really hit for me, the music is still hitting very much so.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if this is the one that has. It might just be a piano. Um, or it might be an organ in the background, which also makes it reminiscent of like Bob Dylan for me too, when
Hmm.
he gets into more of his like using an organ. But no, I like this. And I'm sad. Oh, it also has like good harmonica. It's a good blues
Yeah.
song. And it's a blues song. I mean, the blues are about being sad, right? And I think
Yeah.
she's sad about how disappointed her dad is,
Yeah.
and that he's not going to be this like really special person in her life.
Yeah. You
Maybe
really
I'm
like
reading.
you're a big blues fan, I feel like, or like soul music.
I do like soul music a lot.
So maybe that's why this one kind of spoke to you more.
I don't know. Yeah, I do like the what you're talking about though. Yeah,
Hmm.
with the notes and everything. I don't know. I really like this song. Sue me, I guess.
No, I'm glad you like it. I think I like to hear like the ones that stuck out to you, the ones like I love Dracula Moon. Like I'm like that one is a banger and like that didn't come across your radar. So it's
Mm-mm.
kind of fun to
I
um
listened to all the other ones today. Try like on the back half of the album too. From Dracula Moon down, I listened to all of them again. I was just like, all right, maybe I'm missing something here.
mhm.
But yeah, it didn't connect with me as much.
That's fair. And my only like note on Dracula Moon was not really about anything. Like there's a lot of songs that aren't really about anything.
Hmm.
Like Right Hand Man is not necessarily about anything, but still sounds great.
Yeah, it feels like each verse in Dracula Moon is different.
Yeah. I was like,
Obviously, they're different. That's the dumb thing for me to say, but like you said, it's not about anything in particular.
yeah, and I'm like, are you a vampire? Is there's like it sounds like there's angst and maybe some frustration or anger in some of the lyrics, but I'm still like, I have no idea what's going on.
She also loves to be naked in her songs.
She does. She really does. There's a couple of those.
She says naked as much as Mumford and Son says heart in their songs.
It's a great comparison.
Yes, they're the
She's the
same
Mumford and Sons of the 90s
of nudity.
of new. Love it. That's yeah, I love that. Well, what about the big one? One of Us.
One of Us. I mean,
Hmm.
it really does stand out as so different from the rest of the album to me, and maybe it did for you too. But like,
Yeah,
it doesn't fit at
it doesn't
all.
fit. Nope.
I'm glad she said. I think she okay. So what I read was that this was originally supposed to go to the crash test dummies, and I think I heard something about. I think Natalie Merchant also had a song that was supposed to go to the crash test dummies
Interesting.
during this time as well, but she felt like it was, or she said she liked the song so much and she was good vocally with it.
Hmm.
But like, I'm more interested, and I don't know if you know who the Crash Test Dummies are,
I don't.
but their lead singer has like a super deep voice, and it would have been really interesting to hear this song under the Crash Test Dummies, and as
I say
opposed
they'd
to
probably
someone else.
change the like key.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's. I can't wait to show you a Crash Test Dummy song and just make you listen to it because that's what we're gonna do
Excited.
after this.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Can't wait. I just thought it was this is, and I will say, I keep talking about the lyrics and how none of these songs to me really like make any sense. Or like they're not like about anything. I have like there's a part of me that feels like the only reason this song got as popular as it did is because it's the only one that you actually know what she's talking about.
Hmm.
That you can actually understand the lyrics and you don't have to necessarily look them up after you listen to the song.
And is this song just about being nice to people?
Maybe. I don't know. Again, the guy just wrote it to impress his now wife. Like, I don't know how if it went any deeper than that. Like, there's the lyrics of, if God had a face, would you look him in the face? Like, it's almost like, would you, are you? It's about conviction. I feel like,
Hmm.
but it's also like, what if God was a slob? And I'm like, okay, like, it's. It's an interesting thought, but and again, it's kind of your interpretation. I'm like, yeah, God. I mean, like, if traditional Christianity, God, three in one, was human at one point, all man, all God, all at the same time. So it's like, well, he was one of us. So why are we interpreting this? So I don't know. It kind of is going to depend on how deeply did you grow up in Christianity in the 90s.
But what if God
Yeah,
was one of us? So are they saying that God is, if he's like us, is he miserable too? Is he,
maybe.
struggling? And
Hmm.
not that I'm not miserable, but I'm just saying a general malaise or
Yeah.
miserableness to God. Is that what they're trying to say in this? I don't
Yeah,
know.
or it's like he's just trying to make his way home just like the rest, is he just like the rest of us? Because maybe it's about putting God on a pedestal and be like, oh, he's all great and almighty. God is great, God is good, like in the song, but it's like, oh, he's just like you and me. I'd say it does say that nobody's home, but and he's trying to make his way home and no one's there and no one's picking up the phone. And oh no.
Man, back up to heaven all alone. Yeah, nobody's there. Damn.
It's
Never
like the
thought
good
about that.
it's like
Jeez.
it's like the good place
It is like the good
where like
place.
nobody can get into heaven because of the bureaucracy and logistics and the algorithm around it.
I used to think it was so funny when I was 8 years old to listen to this song, and when she said, "Set for the Pope, maybe in Rome." I don't know why. I thought the Pope was the funniest thing in the world.
The Pope.
Just the
Just,
Pope.
hey man, how's it going?
I thought it. I don't know why I thought the Pope line was so funny. An 8-year-old boy's mind is the weirdest place to live.
I mean, how many people are singing about the Pope in a pop song?
Oh, well, I didn't even know what the Pope was. Probably, I thought it was probably just a funny word.
That's fair. It is a funny word.
And if you're not raised Catholic, then you don't really have any concern for the Pope.
Exactly. There again, there's those Catholicism influences in some of her songs. It makes me laugh.
A lot of Catholics that we. Who else was Catholic?
Natalie
Natalie
Merchant.
Merchant. Yeah.
Mhm. And
Alanis.
Alanis, yeah.
Okay. Alanis was God in a movie.
Really?
Yeah, she plays God in a movie.
What movie?
Dogma. It's a
Okay.
Kevin Smith movie. Yeah, God is Alanis Morissette,
I agree.
and she doesn't speak.
And she doesn't speak. God is Alanis
What
Morissette.
if God was a woman? That's
Ariana
what
Grande.
Ariana says.
That's a banger of a song.
That's basically the equivalent of all these.
God is a woman.
God is a
Yes.
woman. What if God was one of us?
Hmm. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, is there anything else? Any other songs that you want to talk about or anything in particular?
Nothing that stood out. Like I said, I really enjoyed Lumina a little bit more on my re-listen today.
Hmm.
I did read a little bit like that it was actually used in The Sopranos first episode, which I was
Yeah.
like, hey, The Sopranos.
Random.
Yeah, really random that that was on there, but I liked the part that she was when again bringing up religion again. Uh, she talks about Eve took a fruit, Eve bit the fruit, juice ran down her chin. Babies will put things in their mouth, never heard of sin.
Hmm.
And the next time that she mentions Eve, again, she says, Eve had to ask, what is wrong with this? Here's this place. Now's the time. Let's invent the kiss. I don't know. I like the idea of like, nobody knew what sin was. And why was this thing bad? Babies, will put anything in their mouth. Like,
Hmm.
so why did Eve did, why is it bad? And now that she has all this knowledge, like, why is this wrong?
Yeah.
Again, I feel like attacking religion a little bit in that regard,
Hmm.
being like,
And
this is
there's
all
a
made up.
yes, and there's a lot of, I mean, the discourse around Eve is very interesting. And just like depending on the most, if we're really reading, like what Genesis says, like the snake did not, the God talked to Adam. God said, "Hey, Adam, don't eat that fruit." God did not tell Eve that. The um information was supposed to be trickled down. We have trickle down economics, and in I just
I
saw the
like
chat,
the thought of Adam just pulling a trick on.
but it's just
Julia.
like, and I'm like, just not just not relaying the information, and she goes, she's like, and then gets in Adam doesn't get to her first, the snake does, and so she genuinely has no clue, and yet all of humanity's sin is pinned on her
Well,
because so it's like, really this is Adam's fault,
if the
but
fig leaf fits.
yeah, she's like, then it makes sense for her to be like, why is this bad? I don't get it.
No, no, I like the religious elements of that song, I think. And
I also think it's a great closer.
mhm.
Just like we've had this like kind of eclectic collection of songs. Like we've had rock songs, soul songs, pop songs, and we're ending like we kind of have this whirlwind, and now we're just kind of like have an outro. It's very calm. It's very nice to listen to. It's very like acoustic in a way.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
not I don't think there are any drums or anything in this one. No percussion. It really is just an electric guitar in her.
Hmm.
This one sounds the most like Lumina sounds the most like a typical 90s female artist
Hmm.
vibe. We're talking Lisa Loeb, uh, Melissa Etheridge, Meredith Brooks, all these things. Like this is all of them are singing this song at some point in their life.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really all I had.
All right. So, what was your favorite song then?
I'm gonna go with Right Hand Man. I had both Right Hand Man and Pensacola written down, but I think I'm gonna
Hmm.
go with Right Hand Man because I think it's such a good rock song.
I totally agree. That I put Right Hand Man and Dracula Moon. Just both of those gave me the same vibe of I have no idea what's going on here, but I am having a great time.
And I just like the idea of Right Hand Man and that it's actually a masturbation song. So I'm down with that. I think that's hilarious and awesome.
And awesome.
You can do that. It's okay.
Thank you for the permission.
Hey, Adam had to do it too. He had to give
Oh God,
permission.
we're canceled. Uh, what about your least favorite?
Let's just get naked.
Really? I said we didn't even talk about it, but it was a weird song.
It is a weird song, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be good." We've had Right Hand Man, we have all these what other song was Dracula Moon? Even is a little bit sexy and in talking about making out and all this stuff. And I was like, "Let's just get naked," and I never really fully grasped what it just sounded. It just seemed like two toxic people together that shouldn't be together, and
Oh,
they're
we
trying
had
to.
very different interpretations.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's a little cheeky. Like I wouldn't, if I was a marriage counselor, I wouldn't like recommend. I say, I say we have some love for "Let's Just Get Naked" on in the chat, and that I didn't dislike the song. It wasn't my favorite. But so in the how the lyrics kind of spell out in my mind, this is two people who have been married for 30 years. That the kids are out of the house. They're kind of like, yeah, like you're almost like a sibling at this point. Like we have been together for so long. We know each other. You annoy the shit out of me. Let's get naked. We'll giggle. It'll be funny. And like maybe we haven't done that in a long time. And to me, it's almost like like they're kind of jabbing each other a little bit. I like to think that it's both ways. But again, I feel we have gotten so comfortable in our relationship that sex is an afterthought. And now it's being brought to the forefront in kind of a joking manner. And I kind of, I don't know, that's kind of how I pictured it. I can be very wrong,
Oh
but to
no,
me, this is an older couple who's been together for a long time who really doesn't have sex anymore. And they were like, let's just give it a whirl.
So I think I feel like they're cheating on one another with
Oh,
each other, and then like when she's talking about being the cops and him being the maid or the partner being the maid, like I've just been or I'm pissed off that I'm always the one that's, coming down on you about things, and you're just mad because you're, cleaning up all this shit all the time, and we're,
Maybe.
we're
But
we don't nobody's paying the bills, and when are we going to get laid again with our, the people that, we've been banging each
oh,
other.
okay.
So let's just do this. That was my interpretation, is that I think that they are not right for each other. Like you said,
Okay.
they're an older, like they've been together a little
They've been
while.
together a long time. Yeah. Maybe they're
Yeah.
not older, but like in my mind, the kids are out of the house. Like, and they're kind of like, what are we supposed to do now?
So
It's actually, and I can talk about my least favorite in a minute, but this is "Let's Just Get Naked" is where my favorite lyric comes from.
that's fine.
And it's
I'm your TV
um
show, and you're the nicest place I've ever been.
yeah,
It's the best lyric in the song.
and, and it's just so nice, and it's like because like yes, I am your TV show. I am the thing you look forward to. I am your comfort. I am from your regularly scheduled programming, and you are the nicest place I've ever known. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. That's why I'm kind of like, and then also right before that too, it says, I know you like the back of my hand with a stamp that says I paid to get in. And like, I want to be here. Not only I know you like the back of my hand, I put you on the back of my hand. I said, stamp, I stuck you here because I want you to be here because I want to be in this place.
I feel like television show could be seen in a negative way, though. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're my once a week thing. Like,
Oh, I was thinking like how you feel about the good place.
no, I'm thinking about this in 95,
That's
in my
fair.
95 mind, where I can't just put on The Office or The Good Place and just come back to you. You're my television show. That just means I see you once a week
Hmm.
and come back to you. And maybe you're off for the summer, so I don't get to see you during the summer even.
But it's something that
And
you get excited about and something that you look forward to and
I
find
see
comfort
that
in.
too.
But I can it could go either way. We don't
I
know.
know.
Again,
I also
she
thought it was kind of
very
boring.
oh, well, that's okay too. You're my mama's family.
That's a good show. If you haven't seen
uh,
Mama's Family, it's very funny.
I've never seen it. So I put it on the list.
No, it's not worth the
Oh,
list.
damn. All right. Attack. My least favorite was Crazy Baby.
Oh yeah, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind for me. I think
I,
"Let's Just Get Naked" was mine because it was.
it's
I
so
think I had.
jarring.
I think I had such high hope for it, and I just didn't like it. I wanted it to be a sexier song, and it was
Yeah.
more of a letdown song for
I
me.
got you. With
I,
Crazy Baby, she is singing about how her partner suffers from mental illness, probably depression. And she's like, baby, you're crazy. And I'm like, your person needs help. Like, don't call him crazy. That is a negative stereotype.
is this the one where he's like, she talks about like addiction and stuff too,
I
like
don't,
him being addicted or
maybe,
having.
I don't know if it was like a literal or a figurative addiction. I didn't dive too deeply into the lyrics because I listened to it and I was like, she's calling this man crazy and he clearly needs some assistance. And I don't think this is a productive way of going about things. There's also what is her name? Shit. There's another song that is on the tip of my tongue that is called Baby. That came out probably like 2016, 2015. That is very similar to this one. And God, she also sings Wild Horses and River. Hold on, I have a Google machine right next to me.
No, I thought that she was talking about her partner being like going through like some kind of withdrawal. Because at the beginning she's talking about like you're shaking really bad as lighten up your
Mm,
cigarette, um,
oh,
like waiting for his next fix, and which is still not
oh.
great.
But again, that's not crazy. That's, hey, send him to somewhere where he can get help.
Well, maybe she can't.
Bishop Briggs. Sorry.
I don't. Well, maybe he
Um,
also wants to kill himself too. Don't put out the light. Yeah.
well, yeah, exactly. And that was like another one. Maybe that one kind of like hit home. I was like, this person needs assistance. You
You
don't
guys
just
just
be
don't
like,
have sympathy for people. You and Ryan.
I don't want to, if I'm having an issue, if I'm like desperately crying for help and you look at me and you go, crazy.
I don't think she's
I,
saying you crazy like that.
yeah, but I'm like, that's not productive. I'm like, if anything, this is a lack of empathy. Sorry, Bishop Briggs sings a song, Baby. That very much reminds me of this song.
Okay. I don't know who Bishop Briggs is.
Um, might be British. She's you know the song Shut Your Mouth and Run Me Like a
Oh
River.
yeah.
She's
Okay, I
the
do know who Bishop Briggs is now.
she's the original singer of that. There's a more famous cover on TikTok that is a rock cover. But hers is a little more soulful.
I
Anyway.
know who she is, yeah.
um so yeah, I disliked Crazy Baby, and our chat has elite taste. So do you have a favorite lyric? Because mine was the,
I already blew yours. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I said in Pensacola, he said, I sold my blood for money. There wasn't any pain, but I can't stand the feeling it's in someone else's veins. I don't know.
Hmm,
I thought that was I like that. I can't stand the feeling it's in someone else's vein, like my blood is in somebody else's body.
weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it means anything, but it sounded cool and I liked it.
Yeah, it's the, I mean, maybe the idea of giving up part of yourself for money.
For money, yeah. Especially when you're this poor old man who's
Hmm.
living in his trailer and he's you know doesn't have much going for him.
Hmm.
He's
Um,
embarrassed.
yeah, yeah, but I do like that. That's a good one.
So that's it. That's my lyric.
Do you have any music pairings?
Yeah, so I thought about this when I went so all over the place because I had only listened to like the first 3 songs for like a week, or not a
Hmm.
week, for a couple days. Um, and I went from like Kelly Clarkson, I went from Janis Joplin, and then I think I settled on uh, a few names. Sheryl Crow popped up to me.
Mm,
She's got a very, especially some of her more rocky songs are more Sheryl Crow. Bonnie Raitt
hmm.
on the more bluesy songs. Alabama Shakes for maybe a more uh, modern person or modern group with some of
Hmm.
the more blues songs too. So those are my pairings. What about you?
Those are good. I also had Bonnie Raitt. There was a review, like I think it might have been New York Times gave a positive review of this album and mentioned that it had Bonnie Raitt vibes. So that was one that I had down. I also had down Bob Dylan because she is clearly a huge fan. Again, put out a whole cover album.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'd love just to kind of compare and be like, oh, this is where, I see this influence here. I also put Sarah McLachlan and anyone who is in Lilith Fair. so, so I have Jewel, Emmylou Harris, Indigo Girls, all of whom were part of Lilith Fair, which is Sarah McLachlan's female festival, music festival that um, Joan Osborne was part of. So
Hmm.
I was just kind of like the whole vibe is there. So,
Yeah, very Lilith Fairy.
mhm. Would you recommend this album to somebody, to a friend?
I think yes. If somebody's looking for something a little bit more like a bluesy contemporary to Alanis,
Hmm.
I think that this would be a good like. If I don't want to go into that like hard rock or rocker angsty, I would maybe suggest them Joan Osborne.
Hmm.
It's
I think
less
in terms of,
ragey.
yes, in terms of energy, I think this is in between Alanis and Natalie.
This just
Like,
comes off as adult contemporary music more than Alanis does to me.
yeah,
But she
I
is more of an
agree.
adult.
Yes, I agree. I think like Natalie was low energy and not in a bad way, just like more chill vibes. Alanis is high energy. This
Hmm.
is somewhere in the middle. And that's where I like to live is this level of energy.
Yeah.
Um, as a general life statement. So yes, I would also recommend it to like, I like, especially specifically songs. I feel like I would recommend Right Hand Man. I'll be like, oh, have you heard this song before? Like it's, I'm very rare do I recommend a whole album.
Hmm.
But for this, I'm like, yeah, I think everybody should listen to Right Hand Man and have a good time. I think that everybody, Saint Teresa is pretty fun. Dracula Moon's pretty fun. Like I but specifically Right Hand Man, I feel like I would be put that on a playlist for somebody.
Yeah, I could see that on a playlist. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, what about your star rating out of five?
I gave it 3.5 stars. I think this is my second favorite album of the month.
Uh-huh.
And I had to give it a little bit of a boost from Natalie's album, which I thought was like very, right here. But I felt like Joan was like a little bit like, ooh,
Hmm.
like a little bit of a pump there. So I gave her a 0.5 star bump for the rating.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I
Nice.
gave because last week I gave Natalie Merchant a 3-star rating, and this one just drew me in a little bit more. I was like looking forward to listening to some of the songs a second time. So I gave this a 3.5. I was like, do I give it a 4-star? And I was like, no, I think 3.5 is where I want to settle. I do think in terms of ranking, I would go Alanis, Joan, Natalie,
Jewel.
Jewel. I always want to say Pearl. Why do I want to say Pearl every
I
time
don't.
instead of Jewel? But that's as of right, that's where my standing is for this month.
Hmm. I agree. Do we need
And
to
for
keep a running total or like a ranking of all of them?
you know what, I've thought about it. I think that'd be fun to do. Especially since we started out so strong with album of the year.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
just kind of be like, how do they compare? Do we like another album better? Or, did the top five that got nominated for album of the year actually reflect our rankings? So yeah, definitely. We can certainly keep a tab on those.
Let's do it.
Well, anything else that you want to add to any say that kind of wraps up our album, but any music recommendations, anything you got going on, anything you want to chat about?
No, I don't think so. I don't know if I've listened to anything new. I think I've been on a 90s country kick because I'm, excited about future things
Hmm.
that are coming up. I went back and looked. I might actually after listening to Joan Osborne, I might want to look into some of her other stuff. Like I'd love to listen to that covers album
Hmm.
that you talked about. I've also been listening to a lot of Hot Mulligan lately, so
Hey,
that's really it.
that's good. I also have been actually listening to a lot of country music, mostly because we went to a restaurant on Friday where the vibe was just the,
Sorry.
the people who work here listen to country music. You know what I mean? Great food, but vibes. So I've been listening to a lot of country. I also want to throw out there too. Um, I'm a huge John Bellion fan. John Bellion is one of my top artists. I think his album, The Human Condition, is a perfect. It's my 5-star album. It's to me a no skips perfect album. I have a tattoo just inspired by that album, and I just found out that after a 6-year hiatus, he's coming out with new music. So I am jazzed. So if you're someone who's interested in, I would say kind of like a pop, electronica, even a little bit of rap thrown in there, I highly recommend John Bellion. He's got maybe about 4 or 5 albums out. But he's written a lot of songs for other folks. He wrote the hook for the Rihanna and Eminem song Monster. He wrote the song Trumpets for Jason Derulo. He writes for, and he did Justin Bieber's whole album with Peaches on it. He did Jonas Brothers' most recent album. He writes for a lot of other people, but his own music, incredible. So I just found out he's coming up with new stuff this year. So I am very, very excited. As a little
And
PSA.
we just got tickets to go see the Wonder Years doing their Burst and Decay stuff.
I'm
We're going to see
so
them in
excited.
Cleveland, so
I can't
that's going to
wait.
be awesome.
I am so excited. Yes. And if you're a Wonder Years fan and you haven't checked out the Burst and Decay EPs, it's just them doing acoustic versions of some of their songs. And they are incredible. So those are some recs for the week. And another reason that Cody and I have been listening to a lot of country music is because next month's theme is in fact country music, which I am very excited about because the 4 albums we are going to be discussing, I think it's four. One, two, three, four, five. We got five for. Do we? Am I one? I can't count. Nope, four,
I
just
was about
four.
to say it should just be 4.
I was like, February is a short month. No, we got 4 albums to discuss in the month of February, all from country artists. If you're someone who says I like all music except country music, you're incorrect. You don't you don't like all music. You just I say you can find I say I want you to dig deep and find a country song or artist that you can truly appreciate so that you can say you like all music. But next week specifically, we are going to be hitting up Tim McGraw with his album All I Want. I am very excited. But that is all I've got for us. Thank you so much for being here for the month of January, for our Ladies Month, closing us out. Thank you, Cody, for being here again, as you are every week. Again, next week is All I Want by Tim McGraw. Thank you so much. I apologize for insulting anyone if I did with my country music opinion. But it doesn't have to be your favorite. I just implore that you branch out. With that being said, thank y'all very, very much for joining us. See you next time on 52/1995 Music.